It's Hollie's Hotspurs back with another one. Chatting all things Tottenham, we're second to none. Special guests every time, if it's win, lose or draw. The passion is high like Harry Kane when he scores. Or when Lloris makes a world-class save. We got Højbjerg running the mid every game. Settle down, stick around, share your thoughts with the panel. And make sure you're subscribing to the channel, cause...
Hello and welcome to another episode of Hollie's Hotspurs Live, where sadly on Blue Monday we are all very blue because at the weekend we obviously witnessed, I don't even know how to put it. We just witnessed the battering really on all fronts. And with us all tonight to obviously dissect everything that went on, because I think we need a good therapy session, I am joined by three fabulous guests. So first of all, Connor, welcome back, my friend. How are you today? It's probably an awful question to ask, but how are you?
Thanks for having me on. You'll know I am. Don't worry. I think we're all suffering after yesterday. That's all I've got to say at the minute.
So it's probably the only way to put it, isn't it, really? And also joined by George. George, welcome back onto the channel. Sorry again, it's obviously discussing a loss, but here we are.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me back. Yeah, it just feels like a bad hangover that doesn't go away, doesn't it? So yeah, let's get into this.
It's just a constant one, isn't it? And as well, joining us, Crackers. It's great to have you on again, my friend. I'm hoping you can bring some analogies to obviously lighten the mood tonight.
Well, let's see. After nearly 50 years of this, I should be used to it, shouldn't I? But no. Evening, everybody. Evening, Hollie, Connor, and George. And thank you for the invite on. It's it really is a Blue Monday, isn't it?
It really is. It's painful, to say the least. And thanks to everybody that is also joining as well. Like I said, I think us Spurs fans need a bit of therapy, and I think tonight is the night to do it. But let's start off trying to be on a positive note, because Connor, I'm going to put it this way: the atmosphere was all right yesterday. I think us fans were all up for it, raring to go. Because I couldn't get into a pub anywhere.
Yeah, I agree. I think the North London derby always is a separate entity from anything else. I mean, we knew last season how magical the atmosphere was and how much it potentially played a part in us beating them 3-0 to fire the players up. So I can't argue with that. I like you say, the pubs were full, everyone was buzzing. There's a bit of nerves, but that's probably about as far as the positive stretch, I think. There's probably maybe a couple of minor ones from the game, but
It wasn't great. And like you say, it was a hint of nervousness, George, because I think we kind of all felt it. I think last season was a bit different. We obviously felt that we could do the business, but with obviously Arsenal in high form, there's a bit of, maybe we'll get a draw out of this. There might be a lucky goal for us here and there, but I don't think anyone was really ever confident.
Yeah, last year, obviously, because there was only a couple games left of the season, there was sort of a lot more on the line. Like, we knew that top four was within our reach, whereas this time around, it was a little bit more like, okay, can we do something to potentially stop Arsenal from winning the league, or hope someone else can catch, and then also our hopes for top four. But because we're only halfway through the season, it's a lot tougher. And you're right, I think the atmosphere beforehand in the stadium seemed good. Like, everyone was ready and up for it. It was great for the start of the game, but then to concede the first goal the way we did, it just completely deflates the mood. And then to concede the second not too long after that, it sort of disappears from then onwards. I do think in the second half, though, we started to get behind the team a little bit, trying to spur them on. Them. Nothing came about of it, so it sort of just dropped down again. But yeah, sad times.
No, I think you're right, George. I think, like you said, I think us fans did our part. But Crackers, let's say the least, I don't think the players really did their part, especially in obviously the first half. Oh, is he there?
I've got you. I'm back. Yes,
he's back.
Everybody just froze. It was a bit like the Tottenham back 3, 4, 5, whatever system they're playing. Everybody just froze. But I'm back.
He's back. Did you hear what I said at all?
No, go on. Go again.
I was just saying, obviously, George made a good point. Obviously, we were all up for the games as fans, but the players didn't really seem to be like that, kind of what you've alluded to, of obviously us being frozen. So what did you kind of make, obviously, on that first half? Because I think all of us wanted us to come out raring to go, but it never really kind of escalated to anything.
No, this is always the thing. The one constant with Tottenham, the last few years, has been the fans. They're home and away, and they get behind the team. Once the game comes, we all have our opinions on social media and what's going on at the club, and there's probably much to debate and discuss there. But when the game starts, the fans are always there, always there. You can't ever knock the fans. But everything else at Tottenham at the moment just seems to be, if you can bottle what the fans do and their determination and their drive and their vision, and put that into the players and the board and the manager, the three important elements of this, then we truly have something. But at the moment, that's like the fans don't reflect and don't deserve what we're currently being given. And, that's just such a shocking shame. It really is.
It's very infuriating because, like I say, us fans are there all the time cheering our team on, but we never really get anything back. And I think the thing that really made me a bit nervous, Connor, was the fact that obviously we saw the lineup come out, and I'm thinking to myself, we've got Sessignon versus Saka, and we've got Sarr and Højbjerg, bless them, against three in midfield. Surely that's a plan for disaster. It kind of panned out that way.
100%. I think it's reflective of the lack of depth that we've got. In reality, yes, we have struggled without Bentancur, without a doubt. But the fact that we have struggled as much as we have without him says it all. Don't get me wrong, Sarr impressed when he came against Palace, did well against Pompey, but he's not at that level. He's not at North London Derby on your first full Premier League debut. Yeah, it's a tough one. And then Sess as well. I mean, we all want to love Sess. I think we do. He's a lovely lad, but unfortunately, lovely lad doesn't cut it for 25 million. It was shocking. Well, it was surprising that Perisic wasn't starting. But like I say, I think Conte at this point is just. I don't know if it's play whoever and hope. I don't know. He's essentially just working with what he's got, and maybe it's a shout out to Levy saying this is what I'm working with on the North London derby. Do you know what I mean? It's it wasn't a good sight, and then before you know it, Lloris, but that's a different point. So
I know. I think you're right in terms of, because obviously you made a good point about Perisic. I was a bit baffled to why Perisic wasn't playing because, okay, yes, he hasn't got the pace, but at least he can create something, George. But maybe it was because the thinking of, well, Saka's got pace, we'll stick Sessignon on him because, like we said, Perisic maybe doesn't have that. Do you think that was probably the plan from Conte if there was a plan?
That probably was the plan, but I can't lie. Sess is a little bit of an enigma because he's well, for me anyway, he's obviously supposed to be quick, but I feel like a lot of the times in games he still gets outrun. Like I think Saka had the better of him throughout the whole match yesterday. So in the fact that he wasn't even being able to keep up with him, it sort of made you think, well, what was the point? We probably should have started with a more experienced player in Perisic in the first place. And it was just a bit odd. Like Perisic, as much as everyone can maybe say that, oh, he's getting a bit older or whatever, he played 90 minutes week in, week out for Croatia in the World Cup and was one of their standout players. Obviously playing a little bit further forward, but that's where he is strong and that's where we needed him. There was 2 times in the first half where Sessignon's cross into the box was absolutely woeful. And you just sort of think, well, if Perisic was like sort of on the end of those chances, he might have been able to create something. And same with the couple of attempts he had on goal at the start of the second half. You just felt like the more experienced player would be better. And especially since Sess hasn't started for us for pretty much since the restart, it was just a bit of a weird decision for me, to be honest.
It was really strange because, like I say, you could pick faults in that starting lineup regardless. But the Sessignon one, for me, crackers, like I said, like George and Connor have said, it was just strange not to have the most experienced player in that position that can cross a ball.
Well, you kind of think Conte's looked at it and gone up against Saka. Has he got the legs for it? And then so he plays Sessignon, and Sessignon's not got the brains for it. So it's kind of like, can we please have a player called Perisic, like that's got the brains of Perisic, but the legs of Sessignon? And and there's Tottenham encapsulated in one position, that he's got an older player that hasn't maybe got the legs for it, and a young player that just isn't good enough. And Saka absolutely had Sessignon on toast. And in those first 10 minutes, Sessignon got a couple of out balls where he could have hit the line and got the crowd up even more. And he's turned back in because he just hasn't got that confidence, that guile to actually hit the line and try and get across into Son, into Kulusevski, into Kane. But but he's just not got that confidence for it. And that's just seems to be where Tottenham are at the moment. You know, that Kulusevski, Arsenal seem to have enough players to double up on him, but we didn't. And at the moment it's just, you know, there's so many elements going on at Spurs at the moment with what's wrong. You know, the board are just not backing a manager to a manager that won't commit. And then you've got players like Lloris, who's been a fine servant, but, you know, football's a horrid, cruel game. And when you're done, guess what? You're out the door. See you later. Goodbye. So, and that's that. So Lloris should have gone maybe a season and a half ago, really. But yet here he is still here. Eric Dyer should have gone. He's been here since 2014. Should have gone. You know, so all these elements, you know, is that Tottenham at the moment is a mess, but it's a mess that's, you know, a little bit from box A, a little bit from box C, a little bit from box B, and everything at the moment is just a rudderless, directionless mess.
It really is.
And that's a problem. And, you know, Ramsdale makes a couple of absolutely fantastic saves with his legs, and Lloris throws one into his own goal. And, you know, Cesc versus Saka just tells you where both clubs are at the moment. People need to forget that we actually played Arsenal yesterday. Take away the emotion of who we played rather than the team that's currently top of the league and are actually playing some good football with a plan and a vision, and forget it was Arsenal. And, you know, where they've got their players and the personnel they've brought in versus where we are and who we've currently got. And it's night and day at the moment. It's absolutely night and day. And it just, that they encapsulated where we both are within two positions, goalkeeper and Saka versus Sessignon. You know, so until such time as that mess gets sorted out, this is where we are.
No, you do make some valid points, Crackers. I think you're right. And like you said, it's annoying it was them. But when you put the two teams up against each other, exactly that. It shows what weaknesses we have and how they've developed. But Connor, I think we should probably stick with Lloris because I'm telling you now, I think all three of us are sat here thinking, what on earth is he doing? Because I don't know how many times I can defend him from now on, because there's no way that you manage to fall back and slap it into your own net. It's ridiculous.
Listen, man, right? Hugo Lloris, every Spurs fan can sit there and tell you this guy, what a servant. You know, there's been times he's pulled out absolute worldies, and you think, bloody hell, we're really lucky to have this guy as our goalkeeper. But for me, the big point with Lloris that stands out, that tells you that he's never quite been at that, is look at the World Cup final when France went and won it. How many goalkeepers? I mean, it's not talked about. How many goalkeepers make a mistake in a World Cup final and it's brushed under the carpet? Like, for me, that is reflective, unfortunately, of the goalkeeper that Lloris is. And I think he's always had that in him. And, you know, some people are making excuses about how, you know, he's just announced his retirement from France. He's emotional, this, that, but it's nothing new. Unfortunately, Lloris will make about 3-4 big mistakes a season. The thing that hurts this is that it was in the North London derby of all the games. So, yeah, there's not really any excuses for it. Maybe the ball comes off Cesc, I think it is slightly, but you've still got to be saving that. You know, if you had Forster in goal, if you had Forster in goal, you'd be expecting him to make that save. It's not reflective of, it's just not good enough. And I think the fans really have hit the point now where they're saying, no, he is one of several positions in this club that need to be replaced urgently, if possible. I mean, it's not going to be urgent, but definitely need to start looking beyond that, honestly.
Again, we do. We hope it's urgent. But like I said, there's too many positions to obviously fill that are currently urgent. But George, I'll come to you because obviously we've spoken about Hugo before. There's been many times on this show where we're saying, oh, he's made another silly error, be fine next week. But I think we're all kind of on the same front. As like Connor said, I think enough is enough. But have we left it kind of too late? Because I don't think Forster is any better, if not at the same level, is he really? Would he have? I mean, could he have saved that? He should have saved it, but we could have been saying the same thing about him.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't think it's not like Force is a sort of number one ready goalkeeper for us. I do probably think he would have done better in that situation. I think just our goalkeeper situation as a whole. I think when obviously we signed Lloris a decade ago now, or whatever it may be, fantastic sort of young upcoming goalkeeper, incredible shot stopper, and he's proven that sort of over the time. But the football's evolved a lot in the Premier League, and it's a lot more now about playing out the back and working with your defenders. And how many times have us Spurs fans been watching the games and been so nervous when the ball's been passed back to Lloris? Because look at the West Ham game earlier in the season where he kicks it out for a throw and they end up scoring from it. Like, his distribution's not great, and it sort of doesn't really fit the modern style of football and the way Conte plays football, especially passing out to his centre-back. So I think that's the main issue, especially when you look back before the first goal, where he gave us another massive scare, where he was just waiting ages and ages, and Martinelli's closing him down behind him and almost takes the ball off of him before he fluffs it towards Longley. And I do think it's just that time where, because the game's evolved so much, we just need to look for a more ball-playing, maybe progressive goalkeeper with better distribution. And I think it's just as simple as that. I don't think he fits the modern game.
No, I think you make perfect sense. And in terms of, it's again, as well with Spurs, we hold on to players for far too long. And maybe that's what we've done with Hugo Lloris. But obviously, Crackers, I'm going to spin it on his head a little bit, because I don't think it's necessarily all Hugo's fault. It could be those men in front that aren't necessarily making the right moves to be able to receive the ball, because there were so many opportunities yesterday where we're also static, and it's always going to have to be that long ball up top, I thought.
Yeah, but a lot of things do come from Hugo. Don't forget, he's the club captain. He's the goalkeeper. He sets a lot of the tempo. He gives confidence to a back four. And I think the game's now passed Hugo by, because my youngest son, he plays in goal here where I live in Lanzarote. And, you know, he's not just a goalkeeper. He has to be a footballer as well. So if you look at most Premier League goalkeepers, they could probably play outfield for a Division 1, Division 2 team as well. You can't just be a goalkeeper anymore. That's the facts of it. But when Hugo was coming through as a goalkeeper, you just had to be a goalkeeper. Now you've got to be a footballer. And, you know, I'm 1,000,001 years old, and I remember like the Russian president Boris Yeltsin, and when, like, you know, the alcoholism took over him, and everybody went, no, he'll be fine, and he'd sort of turn up at a parade, and all of a sudden he'd be nearly falling over because he was absolutely bladdered. But people went, no, it'll be fine, until it got to a point where you go, no, it's not fine anymore. He just keeps falling over at parades and everything. And this is what I'm getting with Hugo at the moment. The game's passed him by. His body's now got to an age. Do you see what I'm saying? He's just, he's just got to a point where he's now retired from France. He never got one pass back during the World Cup, because the French team was told, don't pass back to Hugo, because he's just no good at clearing the ball out. And yesterday, he's had the simple ball back into his feet, and like it's gone under his foot, and all of a sudden we're scrambling, and we've nearly gone 1-0 down from that. So this is what I'm saying. There's a lot of the tempo that comes from him, and a lot of the cues to his back four. But he's made them nervous already. They're like, oh, my days, Hugo's making a mistake here. He's like with Boris Yeltsin, oh, my God, he's fallen over again. So, I mean, he was a fine goalkeeper. You can actually laud, as George says, what he was, but with also the realisation he's got to go. And, you know, Tottenham, with the money that they've now got coming into the club, could quite easily, this window, not the summer, this window, make a real tough decision and go, thanks, Hugo, you've been a great servant, but no more. And I don't think the Arsenal's forced it either. And then you go down the road to Brighton or Brentford, and you say to Brighton, how much do you want for Sanchez, who's a good goalkeeper, by the way? And they might say, oh, we want £50 million, £60 million, £70 million. Tottenham have got that money to go and get him. Or Raya at Brentford. or Marmadashvili at Villarreal. 3 great goalkeepers there. Straight away, boom, you go and give them 60, 70 million pounds and you put in this world-class, ready-to-go goalkeeper and you replace them. Because you know what, Hollie? Football is a cruel old game. It's a cruel game. There's there's no living on your past glories in this game. You step up, you pay money, and you get those players in. Chelsea have done with the defender. Arsenal nearly had him. They've come in and gone, £100 million. There you go. Boom, done, ours. If they're paying £100 million with their revenue streams, guess what? So can we. And this is where we've got to be and what we've got to be doing now. It's horrid. It's absolutely horrid. It's ugly. It's vile. It's just money driven. But that's where you've got to be to get these players in. And this window, we've got 2 weeks left of it. There is absolutely no excuse why we can't go out and get 2 free players, minimum, absolute minimum, to come in and improve us, because we have got the money there. But have the board actually got the cojones to go out and do that? That's the big problem.
I think as well, like, it's not like Hugo's not expecting it either, because if you remember last year when he signed his new contract, the 2-year contract or whatever it was, he himself said, I'm going to be here to help the club find the next goalkeeper. So it's not like he's not expecting to be cast out at some point. I just think we didn't realise quite how soon we might need to do that. And you can tell the massive difference between him and Ramsdale yesterday by the fact that they were 2-0 up, and Ramsdale, as soon as he's collected the ball, has passed the ball out so quick to I think Ben White on the right hand side to get an attack going. Just before their second goal, Hugo Lloris is holding onto the ball. Sarr is in the middle of the pitch, calling for it with acres of space. By that point, Hugo's waited too long. Arsenal players are set. He's then kicked it or thrown it long. Odegaard's won the ball back and he's gone and shot and scored. I think that's the difference, where he's just lacking the urgency and lacking the sort of knowledge to play out the back the same way some other goalkeepers do.
No, I think you've both hit the nail on the head. I think, like I said, the time's past him. And then when you compare him to the likes of Ramsdale, which I must admit, I think he was playing a bit of the dark arts, but in the North London derby, you're going to do it anyway. You're going to do a bit of time wasting. But like you said, when it mattered, he was playing that ball out quick, and Hugo just wasn't doing that. But try and keeping it a little bit positive, because I don't want to be like depressed the whole time. I want to talk about Sarr, because Connor, as George just mentioned, I thought Sarr was brilliant. Yes, he's been thrown into a North London derby. Yes, it might have been a bit too soon for him, but I thought he kind of held his own, especially when we had to see 3 Arsenal midfielders playing in that role, and I don't think we really set up very well to obviously play against them in that way.
No, I agree. I think Sarr in general has shown in a short amount of time that he is someone who has a future at this club, and it's quite baffling that it's taken this long, in the season while he's sat on the bench to finally see him shining on the pitch. But there is a player there, and he looks comfortable. And like you say, it's very difficult to handle that Arsenal midfield at the minute. If you've not got Odegaard bombing forward with it, you've got Partey in control, you've got Xhaka, who is a newborn player as well. Like, that Arsenal midfield is unstoppable, and there's a reason why they're top of the league. And unfortunately, and it's no slight at Højbjerg, but I think in general our midfield as a whole, it's too much for someone like Sarr. In another game, Sarr comes out of that the superstar, and they go, wow, But unfortunately, like you say, it's the quality that they've got up against Sarr and Højbjerg, So it's gone under the radar there. But yeah, it's encouraging. It's nice to have that as a positive. Something on the pitch as that as a positive. So no, I like him. I like him. He's good.
Like, he is decent. Like I said, I didn't want to be depressed the whole time, but so I thought I'd just slip in Sarr in there. But going back to depression season, George, I'll come back to you, because it was so frustrating yesterday, because I thought it was the time to obviously see Harry Kane beat his record and to see Sonny shine. But I don't know what's going on with Sonny at the moment. It just felt every time he got the ball or anticipated to get the ball, his touch was too heavy, or he did something silly and the ball went out of play. I don't really know what's up with him at the minute.
Yeah, and I think obviously you see a lot of Spurs fans going around saying, "Oh, since Perisic has come in, Son's gone to blah blah blah. Did they just not work well together?" And to be honest with you, I don't buy into that at all, because if you actually look at Son in isolation in these matches, it's not like Perisic is screwing him over and not passing in certain runs or whatever. You actually have Son with the ball at his feet and he's losing it. He doesn't seem ever in control at the moment, which is very odd. I don't know if it's just like some sort of hangover he's feeling from having such an immense season last year, because he didn't quite look the same for South Korea as well. So it's not just like a Spurs thing. It's quite clearly a Sonny thing. And yeah, you can see that. There was a chance, I remember, I think in the second half, we had the ball out wide on the left where I think he sort of plays his best, and he had a chance to maybe potentially take on the fullback and get a ball in, get a cross in, and he just really just could not get the ball out of his feet. He was stumbling over himself. So it's a bit of an odd situation. And look, the best game he's had all season is when he's been dropped and come on and scored a hat-trick against Leicester. And with the fact that Bryan Hill's been flying in the last few games, that he's played a lot of minutes, and he's naturally a left winger anyway, I wouldn't be surprised if Son gets dropped for Hill, just to sort of give him the kick up the arse that he needs. And hopefully that means he can just come back well rested, a bit stronger, and a lot more motivated, because we're 5 months into the new season and we're not seeing any improvements really.
No, we're really not. And it's true. I think, like you said, I think maybe he just needs that reset, because obviously it's not working if he's just playing at the start of every game. But talking about starting every game, Crackers, it was evident that obviously we didn't start very well first half, but then second half FC decided to pop their head for a little bit. What is going on with Spurs? Why can we never start a game like we start a second half?
Well, I mean, this has got to obviously be a tactical decision, because, you know, it's not just up against the Arsenal games and Man U games and Liverpool games and Newcastle games, City games. We were 2-0 down versus Brentford. And there seems to be this tactical decision to conserve energy in the first half and hopefully get to half time and be 0-0 and then steamroller teams in the second half. But, you know, clearly we've not got the personnel to be able to do that, to you know, put the barricades up and get to half time at 0-0 or nick a goal on the break. So, you know, this is all part of the overall problem. Everybody's giving the board a bit of a kick in, and quite rightly, to be honest. But I think Antonio Conte has plenty to answer for in with this as well. You know, he is part of the problem here, that he's not got the personnel to be able to do that at the moment. So find another way. You're on £15 million a year, £20 million a year, whatever it is he's earning. So an elite manager, find a different way with what you've currently got. And then within that, you then put pressure on the board to give him the players that he needs. So he keeps constantly sticking with this plan of action, these tactics, these teams that are set out, but he's not got the personnel to do it. So he's going to have to be a little bit magnanimous and go, okay, that's not working. I've got to cut my cloth accordingly, because second half against most teams, when we actually get on the front foot, you look at it and you go, we're actually doing all right here. There's not many teams. Even yesterday, to a point, we looked like we was actually going at them a little bit more. And on a few occasions, more than the first half, they were struggling to cope with us. Now, you know, within that, the personnel that we've got and the players that we've got couldn't really find a way through, but the intent was there. So, you know, again, Antonio is as much as a problem as the players that we haven't got, and the board, which isn't backing the manager. And this is what I'm saying. It's this current mess at the moment. The board won't back the manager because the manager won't back the board or commit, and it is a mess. So someone's got to put their foot on the ball here. So yeah, it's tough, Hollie. It has to be a tactical decision not to come out and throw the kitchen sink at teams in the first half. But I don't know, Antonio, please pick a game upcoming, maybe not City on Thursday night because you've got to play that a bit differently, but maybe when you've got a game at home, which is more than winnable, like a West Ham or a Southampton, go, do you know what? Why don't we just do in two halves what we do in the second half and see where we are with it? And just throw the kitchen sink at a game for 90 minutes instead of 45. And you know what? If we come out with comfortable winners, stick with it.
Agreed.
Maybe give us something to hang on to. Maybe give us some entertainment for our 60, 70, 80 pounds a week so that we come away and go back to those pubs that we fill before the game and go, I actually quite enjoyed that today. I've actually had a good day out. I'm not disappointed.
It almost feels like he's doing the opposite to what he should be in a sense. Like, okay, for example, just to compare to Arteta, because obviously we played them before. 2 years, they obviously lost a lot of games and there was calls for him to come out to be sacked. But he had a very specific style of play that he wanted to play. He knew he wanted to play attacking football, very similar to City's, because obviously that's what he learned from Pep. And he just, no matter what personnel he had, he stuck with it. He said, this is how I'm going to play. This is what I'm going to do. They ended up conceding a few goals and not getting where they wanted to. But now that they've actually got the personnel after 3 years of being there, it's working. Whereas Conte almost feels like, okay, I know I want to play the 3-4-3 or 3-5-2, whatever it may be. But because my players aren't as good, I'm going to step off the gas the first half to hopefully stop us from conceding. Oh, no, that hasn't worked. Now you can play the sort of attacking moves that I want us to do second half, and then we come back. So it almost feels like you'd almost rather us play the way we do in the second half from the beginning. And if we concede goals that way, then so be it. Then it can be completely down to the fact that, you know what, the players aren't good enough. We can sort of see the attacking plays he wants to do. We just need to upgrade the players. But instead, it's like he's just setting us up to fail from the start and then hoping that we can come back for it.
See, I think personally, it is like Crackers is saying, it's reflective of the personnel you've got, which is why he does that. Which is, let's face it, if he plays that game for the full 90 minutes, I think we go and concede 2-3 goals every game because it is reflective of the team that we do have. Players like, there was that stat that came out in the Palace game. Was it something like we'd covered the second most ground in the league, which is insane because you think we are a second half team. So how is that possible? But then that tells you that the tactic surely is preserve your energy. Second half, we come out a different outfit and we push at them. And I think that is Conte working with the tools he's got. You know, you wouldn't go to a mechanic and go, oh, here, mate, here's a screwdriver, here's a tyre. Can you fix my whole car? Because he'll go, how am I going to fix your whole car with a screwdriver and a tyre? Your whole car needs servicing.
But then equally, just to quickly combat that, I feel like it's weird that he seems to put the players through their paces in training, and all of them, especially Kulusevski, have come out and said, oh, it's the hardest thing. We barely got a break. We had to do all this, that, and the other to work on their fitness. And it's like, well, what's the point in sort of going hard and working on their fitness if you're then not going to take your plan for the whole 90 minutes? Because other teams may have different plans, but they're able to do that plan for the whole 90 minutes. Why can't we, given the fact that he's trying to supposedly make their fitness better with the training that he does?
I honestly think that if we tried that, I might be wrong, I'm not a manager. If we tried that for 90 minutes, it wouldn't work. I think the players would be burnt out. I think you might be lucky to get the 70th minute and we capitulate. We have a Southampton last season, that 3-2. We have games like that where it's late, where we capitulate. We're a team coming back in the second half. Because there is fight in this team. People constantly talk about how, the players aren't playing for Conte anymore and all this. Well, we've had the most comebacks this year. We've had the most points from losing positions. They want to play for him. It's purely, I think, a case of they're just not. And you're right. They're putting them through his pace. He's putting the players through their paces. But I just don't think they can sustain it for 90 minutes. Otherwise, if that is the case, why do it? I agree. Why are we not doing that for 90 minutes? There must be a reason. And I think that's the reason. That's all I can guess.
It's just very strange. I think we've all just got to the point where I don't think any of us necessarily want Conte out. And I know there's lots of, tell me if I'm wrong, but I know there's lots of people in the fan base that are screaming for him to be out. But I feel like then Crackers were just at square one again. What was the point of getting rid of Poch? What was the point of getting Jose in? What was the point of obviously getting Nuno in? What was the point of getting Antonio in? If we're not going to actually get behind him and give them what they want.
No, it's exactly that, Hollie, isn't it? It's, pick a manager, pick a philosophy, pick a style of playing and stick with it. And, that showed us yesterday. And as much as it kills me to say it, this is what Arsenal done. They brought in Arteta. They got rid of Aubameyang. They got rid of Ozil. They got rid of Lacazette. They wrote them off. They got pipped last season by us at the end, and the fans were going absolutely mad, but they stuck with it. And it's paying off dividends this season. So this is the problem we've got at the moment. It's like the club, the ENIC that currently run the club go, okay, go with Jose, and it doesn't quite work. Right, scrap that. Nuno, come in Nuno, never worked. And then it's like, okay, Antonio Conte. So what does Antonio want? He wants this. Oh, it's too much money. So we're just not backing him. I just want the club to pick a manager with a philosophy and the board to back them over 4-5 years, because Arsenal were all over the place for the last 3 seasons since Arteta came in, but building and building and building and held their nerve even when they got, horrendous stick for where they was and what they was, because they could see it coming. And that's all I want Tottenham to do. If it's not Antonio Conte that wants a good few quid to run the team the way he does and the vision of the way the football's played, if it's not him and the club doesn't want to do it, fine, no problem. Get rid of him. Thanks very much. Bring in a manager, a younger manager, a little bit more progressive, a little bit, thinking outside the box with what he does. Like the manager Brighton's just brought in. Is it De Zerbi? Yeah, De Zerbi. There's a manager that you think to yourself, okay, so give him a manager like that a chance and back him and buy the players that he wants and go through maybe 2-3 seasons of not being where you really want to be, but trying to build up to it and just being brave and just backing that manager and just having a plan. I want something to actually stick to and aim at for 3 or 4 seasons, not this temporary sticking plaster all the time at the moment and this scattergun approach that we currently have. It's just not working, Hollie. It's just not working. I'll take that. I'll take some hard yards to see us progressing eventually. It's just, but problem is, I don't think there's anybody really at the club who understands football. That's the problem. I think they understand building flats and building cinemas and building a stadium that's for multi-use and this and that. And, that's the problem we've got at the moment, that they've got a great understanding of business, but not football.
Agreed.
So,
and I think that is the most annoying
thing. That's currently where we are.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's the thing where we're all kind of like, what is the point supporting our team if A, they don't want to turn up, B, they're not getting the tools to be able to turn up? It's just an absolute mess. And I think, George, coming to you, I think that's where I'm kind of at the moment. Obviously, I know I don't want Conte sacked, but I'm also sat here thinking, if they're not going to invest in Conte, what is the point? Do we just restart again? But then we've tried that with Pochettino and we sadly didn't win anything. And it's just always in this stalemate all the time.
Yeah, for me personally, I want Conte to be here. Conte is an absolute winner. And you got to remember as well, when he did it for Inter, they had over a decade of not winning the league. And he came in and it wasn't even that much money that he spent there. He just had an absolute clear vision of, these are the players I need to make this team a winning team. And he must have an idea of that for Spurs as well. And for some reason, we're not bringing in those players. We're bringing in second bests. Like, wanted Bastoni in the summer. We've got Longley on loan. It can go on forever talking about that. But I think if we were to get rid of Conte to then say, let's just start again and start a new project, we're looking at least another 6-7 year project. Because for one, Kane's going to be gone without Conte. You saw how much he praised Jose before. He clearly just wants to work with elite managers, especially being at the end of his career. So that's Kane gone. All right, you might get money to rebuild there, but let's be honest, are you going to replace Kane? No, you're going to have to probably find a different system of 2 to 3 players that makes up for the goals that Kane created, especially if Son's maybe on this downward trajectory. We don't know. He might come back, hopefully. It's a big challenge for whatever manager comes in next, which then means, guess what? You have to spend a lot more money bringing in completely new players to play a completely new system. So while you have the winning manager here at your club, and you clearly have a few pieces of the puzzle that are working well, your Romeros, your Perisic for now, but with Destiny Udogie coming in, who Conte obviously wanted as a younger player coming through, Kulusevski, Bentancur, Kane, hopefully Son again. Like, we've got a few pieces that work. It's just filling out the rest. And I feel like you're better off investing the money doing that than inevitably over the next 6, 7, 10 years, spending a lot more trying to build this completely new team and making up for the goals that you're going to lose when Kane goes.
And that's the thing that I can't get my head around. And I know we talk about, obviously, the board being people that want to invest in, so the architecture, so the stadium, to bring in more revenue. But surely, Connor, if your football team's performing well, that brings you in revenue as well. And it means more people want to go to games. More people are going to want to buy shirts. More people are going to actually be like, oh, wow, okay, my team actually might win a trophy. And then that means you can move on to bigger and better things. It doesn't make sense from a business perspective either.
Without a doubt, honestly, I mean, Cracker said it straight away. Where with Arsenal vision, it's they pinpointed Arteta. They knew they wanted it for a couple of years, and that was it. And we had that with Poch. Everything was flying under Poch, and ultimately we can talk for hours about whether he should have got sacked or not. That's a different story. But ultimately, that whole 18-month period where we haven't spent money, we are still suffering for that now. That happened. You sack Poch, you go and get a winner of Mourinho, and you think, this is it. This is the board finally backing a manager. They're going to go behind him. And then they don't. They sack him days before a final, and then they're going to get Nuno because they're panicking because they don't know what they're doing. Nuno doesn't last long. And then you go and get Conte, and you think, wow, we've got Antonio Conte. This is a guy who's won the Premier League. He's won Serie A. He's won the FA Cup. He's a winner. And we still don't back him. So I agree. If you're winning stuff and everyone's talking about your club, everyone's buying shirts, everyone's doing this, everyone's doing that, it's a model that works. So it really makes you wonder how they still to this day are suffering from that 18 months we didn't spend anything, how they aren't changing that. Because let's face it, I was doing some stats the other day, and we've spent more money net wise since Poch left than in the 5 years that we had Poch. It's insane. It's actually insane. And that tells you, I was telling George, for me, them bringing in Conte was them panicking, saying, this is it. Things are going really sour with Nuno. We have to get Conte through. Then what? Then you get him in, you get Champions League football, and you don't back him. My sympathy with the owners has drastically dropped significantly.
And I think that's the thing at the moment. It's a common, because normally when you bring it up, everybody's like, you're a bit on the fence, or it's a bit like this, that, or the other. You don't know whether you want to be outspoken or whatever. But I think everybody's kind of feeling the same. If they're not passionate about it, they're definitely thinking, what's going on here now? Because this is a constant, and we've seen this, like you said, Connor. Those managers you've listed off, they have the same running theme throughout them, and that is the board. And I think that's sadly where everybody is. But Crackers, if we're going to talk about backing Conte, who is it for you that comes in, whether it's a rumour, whether it's this or whatever, who comes in to hopefully change our season in this January transfer window? I know there's not long left, so hopefully if it happens, it does happen, but we'll have to wait and see.
Well, I think whoever comes in is whoever Paratici and Conte wants. Because there's no other club in world football, not just like Europe or in the UK, that has the spending power within these rules that we supposedly had of FFP that we can bring in. There's no player in the world, if they're willing to come, that we can't bring in. It's as simple as that, because we've got such spending power now. You only have to look at the reports of our revenue streams and everything else that's going on. We can spend hundreds of millions of pounds now because of where we are as an overall club. So whoever it is that Paratici wants and who Conte wants, bring them in. If Conte is your manager, if he's not, then get shot, get the manager in that you want with this going forward plan and give him those players. Perhaps this is why they won't commit to buying players for Conte, because Conte won't commit to him. So somebody's got to be the bigger man here. Hello, Daniel Levy, and just sit down and go, okay, Antonio, you're getting backed. Here's your budget. You and Paratici, you go away. You pick the 2 or 3, 4 players that you want this window. And we'll go out and we'll do our best to get them. And you know what? You can get them. You can absolutely get them. Or the ball turn around and they go, oh, do you know what? Thank you, Antonio. We brought you in, but we've looked at things and we've made a bit of a mistake bringing you in, because Antonio's not going to starve. He'll get a job somewhere else. Don't worry. He's paying the electric and gas bill this month, okay? So, no, do you know what I mean? He'll go and get another job, then bring in the manager that you want. With Paratici, you say to him, what does this manager want? What will he need? With his philosophy, his style of football, what's the players he's going to need? And Paratici can start earning his money as a director of football to bring those players in that suit that new manager. But somebody has got to make a decision at the moment, because as it stands, it's rudderless. It's all over the place. They're not quite sure with Antonio. Antonio's not quite sure with Spurs. So somebody's got to blink in this game of poker. It's as simple as that. So, you know, just give us something. If it's Antonio, fine. If it's not Antonio, that's also fine. But give us something that we can go with for the next 3-4 seasons and try and build towards. That's all we need. I want vision and clarity.
Agreed.
That's it.
I think that's all us fans want as well. At the moment, we're just in limbo, and I think that's the most annoying thing. But George, I'll come to you, because obviously, is there any names that are floating about that you're thinking, oh yeah, I could do them? Because I know Pedro Porro's floating about, and obviously I know that Trossard is also floating about. So who for you is like someone you want to go and get?
Yeah, I mean, just looking at Pedro Porro, I think he's almost an obvious one at this point. Just looking at his attacking numbers seem to be insane. Like, he offers so much more going forward than what the likes of Doherty and Emerson Royale seem to do. Defensively, you have to question a little bit, because they don't seem as positive stats, but then that's when you hopefully got Romero as the cover back there. And also it's probably the centre-back situation I think needs covering in this window. And it's not like there aren't any good ones available. I understand that they might want to spend more money in the summer to bring a top level one in. But then you look at the likes of Ndicka from Frankfurt. He's available for free in the summer. So he's got 6 months left. A very tall, commanding, left-footed centre-back who creates a lot of attacking chances and can play the ball on the left into the flanks. And I think we'll feel a lot more confident with a better centre-back. And he'll be cheap to bring them now. Rumours of us getting in Hinsapi as well. I don't know if that's pronounced correctly, but he's the Ecuadorian. Same again, left centre-back. Another one that rumoured only about 25 mil at the moment. And supposedly we might loan him back. But why not just bring him in now, let him play for the 6 months to sort of get used to the club, get used to Conte's system. And it fixes a massive problem, because I don't think Davis is at the level to cut it for left centre-back. I don't think Dyer in the middle either, but I think the central centre-back will be a lot harder to find right now. And even Longley, it was sort of like a last-minute loan because he couldn't get Bastoni in the first place, or even try for him again as well. So I think for me personally, I would prefer to sort of tackle the left centre-back situation now and the right wing-back. I would also like another forward, but again, Conte's a stickler for players that will play for him properly, and what Trossard's going through at Brighton at the moment by not turning up to training or leaving the country when he wasn't supposed to. It's sort of like, yes, I do rate him as a player, but if this is how he's behaving at Brighton, is Conte then going to be able to get the best out of him? And realistically, he's going to be a squad player at best. So I'd rather fix the defensive situation, because we're clearly fine going forward, sort out the defence, and we might not concede a few goals at the start of every game.
Agreed. I think for me, that's the same for me as well. I think it's the defence that really needs shaking up. And Connor, what's your kind of thoughts on the transfer window? Is there any names maybe that George has said or Crackers has kind of spoken about that you're thinking about?
Yeah, again, Porro's obvious. We can all say that. I mean, we're trying to negotiate it down as much as possible, because that's exactly what we do. And at this point, it's looking pointless. Trossard, again, I completely agree with George. This attitude thing, if he's going to act like that, I don't want him at the club. That's not someone that you want in your dressing room with Conte or post Conte. There's a centre back who plays for Lens. I can't remember his name, and Lens are flying at the minute. So it's a tough one with that. But I just look at it in the reality, and I say anyone that Conte would want. But we've got to be real. We've got 14 days or whatever it is left of this window, and we might end up having no one. And you know, again, I've said there is 5 areas. We need a goalkeeper, we need a centre back, we need a central attacking midfielder, we need a right back, obviously, as well, and we need someone on the wing again. You know, and besides the attitude thing with Trossard, he would be perfect for the price. But yeah, I'm just trying to be realistic, and right now I'm avoiding any rumours, any targets, because it's the reality of us maybe ending this window without no one. We're not going to have another January like we did last year. We hit the jackpot with Kulu and Bentancur, and we're not going to have one like that again. So yeah, it's a bit gloomy for me, but that's just how I'm feeling.
Obviously gloomy and realistic, isn't it? Really,
I think we've got a perfect situation with Inter, to be honest with you, because obviously Antonio Conte's managed there, was very successful there. You knew Bastoni was his number one target for centre back last summer, and they're supposedly interested in Emerson Royale because they might lose Dumfries,
Really?
whether that's to us or Chelsea or whoever it may be. You kind of think, okay, if they are interested in him, then try and work some sort of swap plus cash deal. There's plenty of players that in that whole club that he probably knows could be worth it, whether it is Dumfries himself, if we don't get Pedro Porro. There's chances, like what we did with the Juve players last year. It's just whether we're going to pull the trigger or not. That's the difference.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. That's the thing. It's just whether we're going to do it, and we're sat here every year saying the same thing, whether we're actually going to have the balls to go do it. But it'll be interesting to see with those 14 days left. But obviously we have got another game coming up. They're coming up thick and fast at the moment. And Crackers, that is City. How are you kind of feeling for that game?
Well, somebody, just to run back to those Lens centre backs, Medini, as somebody said in the comments there, but they also have Loic Bardi as well at Lens at centre back, who's another great player, 20 years old. They've got 2 fantastic young centre backs there. So both of those, I wouldn't be unhappy to see it come to Spurs and develop. Bit like Jed Spence, really. Oh no, that's right. He doesn't get a game, does he? It's
too soon.
You know, buy some players like that. You know, bring them in. Bring Brian Hill through. Bring some of these younger players through. And if you have, if you do have a couple of seasons where you're, off of it a little bit because you're developing them, fine. But you develop them up and you bring them through. It's as simple as that. It's I don't know. Anyway, Hollie, that wasn't what you even asked me. Ask me again. Thursday night we're talking about, aren't we?
Oh yes, Thursday night. How are you feeling for that one against City?
Yeah, can I carry on talking about young players that we can bring through, please?
Go
so
for
I
it.
don't have to talk about
Thursday
night. Wouldn't it just be Tottenham to go and beat them now? Like just to help that mob down the road a little bit more. Yeah, you can put your hands in your I don't know. It's like what Man City are going to turn up, what Tottenham's going to turn up, because after we got our asses handed to us on a plate by Villa, you thought to yourself, well, we're going to go to Palace and we're going to get absolutely shooed here, and hey ho, 0-4 win. It's like you don't ever put Tottenham in your accumulator, because you just don't know what's going to turn up. It wouldn't surprise me if we won 2-0, and it wouldn't surprise me if we lost 2-0 at the moment. We're so Jekyll and Hyde, it's ridiculous. So like if the players and Conte doesn't know what is going to happen Thursday night, then me as an old fat retired train driver, I've got no idea either. Ask someone else, Hollie. I'm not a brain surgeon.
Oh, you make me giggle, Crackers. That's why I love having you on, man. You always make my mood a lot better after a loss. But George, how are you feeling? Are you feeling? I don't know how to even put it, to be honest. What do you think is going to happen? It's kind of like Cracker said. It depends what Tottenham turns up again.
Oh, my thing's gone. Oh, hold on. Sorry if I'm frozen.
Hopefully we're not frozen like this on Thursday.
Sorry, my thing froze just there. As soon as you started speaking, it started to freeze. I was like, no, God damn it. But yeah, I can definitely say I'm not confident. I can tell you that for a fact. But again, it's that sort of situation where, look, Man City don't even look anywhere near their best at the moment, defensively wise anyway. Whereas we do, one thing we normally seem to be good at is attacking, or at least in the second half anyway. So you almost feel like, is there a chance there to get at them, especially since the performance we had last season where you could say they were at their best and we managed to get a result. But to be honest with you, that took a 12 out of 10 performance from Harry Kane, a 10 out of 10 performance from Kulusevski, for us to just about beat them towards the end. Like they still hounded us throughout the match with a lot of possession, and that's without Haaland, who's able to put away any sort of attempt that KDB might give him on a platter. So I think we're in for a tough ride. It's not impossible, but the thought of having Haaland go up against the likes of Dyer and co, it's not an exciting one. I can put it that way. And you know what? I think as well, especially Man City are a team that like to overload when going forward. Like their wing backs get forward, their midfielders press up high. And if we are going to stick with this two-man midfield, I'm very worried for probably Højbjerg and Bentancur if he's back by then, because I think they're going to be heavily overrun.
Agreed. And I think it's kind of a lot what we saw at the weekend in terms of that midfield being swamped. So Connor, have you got any thoughts of wisdom to obviously pick up the mood a little bit? Or are you thinking the same boat as everybody else? It's going to be a tough one.
Thoughts of wisdom. Oh, I wish I had some of them. I think realistically, usually we go to City and we think, bloody hell, we can go to City and we can actually get something here. You know, last season, just in general, our record there is very, very good. But I think in general, with how much they are actually struggling for form of late, even losing to Southampton, I don't know how they did that, or they were poor anyway. But I think in general, I hate score predictions. I hate all the things. But I think we're going to go there and we're not going to win. I think we'll be lucky to draw just because of how desperate they are. And I know we're desperate, but we're not as desperate as they are, because you've got United breathing down their necks as well now. So no, I think they'll turn up. I think they need to turn up, and I think it'll, unfortunately, I wish I had words of wisdom for Conte. Unless we can go and sign Porro and Hincapie and Trossard and all these players in the next couple of days and change it round. I hate to say it, but I really think we're going to go there and we're going to lose.
I think it's the first time I'm actually sat there thinking I'm not going to do a score prediction because I don't want to know what everybody's thinking, so we're going to leave that one. But yeah, it's going to be difficult. Like you said, seeing Haaland playing up against our back line is something I don't really want to witness, but I'm going to have to watch it.
Stuff of nightmares.
It really is. But no, it's been a good chat tonight, obviously, to go over everything. I think I needed it, to be honest, after witnessing what happened at the weekend. I want to say a big thank you to everybody that's been in the chat tonight. You've been very lively. There are 42 people watching, which is madness. So make sure you're liking it. It helps me get the algorithms up and all of that jazz. So please do that. So let's do our thing. We'll go around the table, say where we can find everyone. So Crackers, thank you again for joining me tonight. Like I say, you always lift the mood of your analogies. So thank you very much. Where can everybody find you?
I'm at Mr. Cracknell, as you can see on the screen now. So I'll be back into the UK at the end of Feb, and for March doing me Legends Nights with Glenn Oddle and Gary Mabber and Harry Redknapp. Remember him? Yeah, Harry Redknapp. Yeah, and a few others. So, but listen, the sun comes up again tomorrow morning. As long as you got your health and your family are all good, that's the important things. Football, listen, we all love it, but make sure it's got its place in your life. So, no, thank you for the invite along, Hollie, and nice to see everybody and all the comments as well. So good stuff. Enjoy it, but make sure football's got its place in your life.
Agreed. Wise words, Crackers. I need to remind myself that sometimes because you do get a bit wrapped up in it. But no, thank you, Crackers. And George, thank you again for joining me. Where can everybody find you doing your
thanks for having me again. And yes, George Achillea pretty much across anything. So YouTube, obviously been a bit quiet recently on the videos, but we will be back soon. In fact, we did a lot of research in trying to fix the Conte problem at the moment with the team. So hopefully that'll be out soon. And same for like Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, whatever it may be. And hopefully see some Spurs win soon at some games. Yeah.
That would be nice. It would be.
That would be nice. It would be nice.
It would be. But thank you, George. I do appreciate
Thank
you
you.
coming on. And Connor, thank you again. I know you jumped in last minute, so I do really appreciate it. And I know you're on next week as well. So where can everybody find you doing your thing?
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Honestly, always a pleasure. Love it, love it, love it. It's great therapy for this current mess at the minute. So CT's McClavinia, that's my name, and on Twitter, TikTok, on YouTube, it's CT's McClavinia1. And yeah, I basically just rant a lot at the minute if people are into that. The most important thing is that everyone keeps liking this video and sharing it and backing Hollie, because she continues to do a great job. So make sure you do.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us on.
Hollie, I'm 107 years old. TikTok to me is just the noise that a watch makes. I've got absolutely no idea.
You need to get on it, crackers.
Listen, I've just about come off of Friends Reunited and MySpace. I've only just discovered Facebook and Twitter.
Oh my days! You need to get on it, man.
TikTok? Can you smoke it or do you drink it?
Probably wish we could after the Spurs games. Yeah.
Oh dear, crack me up, crackers. But no, make sure that you all check out these guys. They all do class stuff. And like I say, thanks to everybody that has tuned in. Obviously tonight we're back next Monday. Well, hopefully we'll be a little bit happier to discuss hopefully a win, but I'm not too sure. But no, thanks again. Like I say, same place, same time, 7 p.m. every Monday. And until next time, come on, you Spurs.